Welcome back to Namaste Node.js Season 3, and in this episode we are going to see how you can build your own chat system where two people can chat with each other real time using WebSockets and socket.io. We are going to learn a lot of cool, amazing things in this video, my dear friends, and trust me, you are going to love everything about this video, right? You need to take notes while you watch this video, and you have to code along with me. I'll take some pauses in the video, right? I will code a little and then I will ask you to code along with me, right? Do and follow what I do, and you will be able to build a chat system. And you will be amazed, and it's a very interesting feature, trust me. And I am going to teach you the real live implementation of WebSockets, and later towards the end of this video I will also tell you, right, important things, right, and important more concepts about WebSockets that you can further study to increase your knowledge inside WebSockets. See, WebSockets, real-time communication, all these concepts are very, very, very huge. In this episode I will try to cover portions of it, and I will try to give you real world knowledge about these things, right? And I will tell you a lot of cool, amazing things. And I will also tell you, I will also give you some references and some topics that you have to study after this video so that your understanding becomes even more stronger. Okay. I want you to be really good when it comes to WebSocket or real-time communication. If you are giving an interview, you should be able to talk about things because, unless you have worked and built such features, you will not be able to explain it to your interviewers, and neither you will be able to build it when it comes to build a real world live application where you might need to use WebSockets or a real-time communication kind of a thing, right? There are so many examples on the internet that you will find, and so many, applications that you daily use which uses WebSockets behind the scenes. And today we are going to see one such examples. One big example is chatting applications, right? So you are online, your friend is online, you are sending a message and it automatically quickly goes to your friend is chatting, it automatically quickly goes to you, right? How does all that happen, right? We will see all of it live in action in our DevTinder application. We are going to build a small feature where, suppose if you have sent a connection request to your friend, right, on DevTinder, and your friend request has been accepted. So once you are connected, once two people are connected, they can chat with each other. We are going to build that feature today, and hope you are interested and hope you are excited. So let's just quickly get started with WebSockets and chat application that we are going to build in this whole episode. Okay, so let's just get started without wasting any time, my dear friends. So, first of all, let's go to our code. This is our front-end code. This is our backend code, and I will also keep taking down notes like I always do in our readme file. Cool. So today we are going to build, my dear friends, chat using real-time chat using WebSockets, right? So WebSockets is an underlying concept, and the library that we are going to use is socketIo. Okay, so a lot of people don't know about this, but I will explain you about this, right? So there is a library, socket.io. See, WebSocket is a concept, right? Just like we have APIs in our browser, similarly, we have WebSocket connections where a server can connect with multiple clients, right? And they can talk to each other. It's a bi-directional connection, right? I will talk about it more, don't worry. But what we are going to use is socket.io, right? This is the application, this is the package that we are going to use to manage our socket connections, right? We will refer to this documentation. I will keep referring to this documentation. Now, I always keep telling you that this documentation is good, this documentation is not good, this, that. And let me tell you, my dear friends, there is a good news for you about socket.io. Its documentation is neat and its documentation is nice, right? I personally like it. You might not like it, but I personally like it. Okay, so you can go through this documentation. It's a very clear, not so sophisticated, easy documentation with some examples. There can be some, some things if you want to find, it can be tricky, but then it does the job, right? It's a good documentation to read, right? I would suggest you definitely. Like in the last episode, we were integrating Razorpay and we find the documentation not so good, but in socket.io, the documentation is good, right? So I really like it. That's my personal opinion. You can have your own opinions, right? Just read it and go through it, right? So you can go to documents, guide, tutorial. You can go to client API, server API. We are going to see a lot of things, right? But this is how basically things are, right? I am not going into a lot of theory here, right? Because I want to, there is not a lot of theory that needs to be covered for learning WebSockets. What I want is I will directly kind of jump into the code and slowly I'll start explaining you alongside I write code. Okay. So I will write code and I will explain alongside, right? Instead of explaining theory or something. But I would highly suggest you, please go to this documentation and give it a read, right? Go over here, right? This socket.io docs and guide, right? So this will basically talk a lot about what is WebSockets, how do socket.io work, and all that other stuff, right? So again, right? So okay, let me just take like 1 or 2 minutes to explain a little bit about socket and WebSockets and all that stuff for people who don't know. Otherwise, you people will say, Akshay, you are not teaching, or you are in hurry or something. See, I'm not in hurry. I just want to, teach you interesting stuff and writing code and stuff, right? But let me give you a brief idea. See, when I am on this page, let me just talk a little bit about socket.io. See, socket.io is a library, right? Now there are 3 main keywords. Whenever in your interview or whenever you are explaining WebSockets to anyone or this library socket.io to anyone, always keep these 3 things in mind, right? I love this. Low latency, bidirectional, and event-based. Right? These are the 3 major things about socket.io. And see, low latency, you understand what is low latency, right? It's fast, it's seamless, it's, the connection is smooth, fast, right? That is low latency. Bidirectional. Now, APIs are generally unidirectional. What do you mean by APIs are unidirectional? Generally, a client is calling the server and server is returning the result. That's one direction, right? Client is asking for some data from the client, right? So server, right? That is what it is. But WebSockets are bidirectional. That means client can send some data to server and server can also ping client whenever they want to, right? In case of APIs, server cannot directly send anything to the client, right? No, it cannot happen. Unless the unless the client requests something, then only it can happen. It's unidirectional. But WebSockets are bidirectional. That means client can send something to server and server can send something to the connected clients, right? So that's how things work. You will see it in action very soon. And the third thing is event-based, right? So everything that we do in socket programming or WebSockets, right? We will do event-based, right? There would be some event, there would be some event listeners, and that's how the things will work, right? You will understand everything. So these are the major 3 things that you need to know in theory. Suppose if somebody asks you what is WebSockets or why do you need WebSockets, what is the advantage and all that stuff, so you can read about it, right? So please go through a lot of things, right? What socket.io is not and all these things, right? You can check out these common questions and so many other things, right? How it works, right? Just read about it, how it works, what is, how does handshake happens and all that stuff, right? I'm not going through all the details, but let us just now go to code and start implementing, right? So, and before even, building a chat system, let's just start with very basic first, right? Very basic thing, right? In our application, what we are going to build, if suppose 2 people are connected, so they should be able to send messages to each other. Okay. So that is what we are going to build. Okay. So now let me log into some, let's log into some user, right? Which user should I log into? Maybe let's log into Akshay, right? Why not? So if I log into Akshay, right? So what we are going to build, let's build a little bit of front end first, right? And then we will build a little bit of backend, right? To integrate the WebSocket connections and all, right? So close. So let's go to connections. So here, see, we have so many people. These all are my connections, right? There are so many people who are connected to me. Now what I need to do is, if somebody is connected to me, I am the connection of somebody else, right? So there are so many people are here. Now, if suppose I want to chat with Narendra Musk or I want to chat with Virat Kohli, so I should show them a chat kind of a button, and then it takes me to a chat page where you open a chat window and then do stuff, right? So that is what we are going to build. Let's start building it slowly, and then we'll see, right? So first of all, to create a chat window kind of a thing, right? To create a chat window kind of a thing, we will need a separate component as per se, right? Let's build a chat component, okay? Just to build a a UI kind of a thing for our chat application. So now, right, and this chat application and this chat window will be loaded on /chat or something like that, right? So let's load this component on a route, right? How do you add it to a route? Something like this, right? So CV, and then I can build a chat kind of a thing, right? So chat, and then I can load a chat component when the route is chat. Okay, so if I go over here and if I click on chat, so it should, it should take me to the chat component. But suppose if I want to chat with Virat Kohli, so I should have some button kind of a thing, right? Let me build a button kind of a thing. If you click on it, it takes me to the chat of Virat Kohli. Okay, so how do you know that which chat are you on? So what I will do is, let's build something like this, right? Okay, so if suppose I want to chat with Virat Kohli, it should be something like this: chat/Virat Kohli ID, right? So here we can have the ID of Virat Kohli, or chat/the user ID which we need to chat to, right? That URL would be good, isn't it? So let's kind of build it. So something like this, okay? And let me also show you how you can do that. You can basically do something like this, okay? So you can say chat, and then over here you can pass in a params, right? So how do you pass a parameter over here? So you basically, you can pass something like this: chat, and then you can say to user ID, or maybe you can say target user ID, okay? So this target user ID is the person whom you want to chat. So first is Akshay, the logged in user. The second person is the target user ID, right? This is the user ID of the people whom I want to chat with, right? So this is the target user ID. Save it, right? So now if I go to chat, and then I can do /, and then this can be an ID. 123 can be an ID of Virat Kohli or something like that, right? I'll go to this chat component. Cool. And now suppose if we make this dynamic URL, right? If we make this as dynamic, how do I read that ID over there, right? So in my chat component, how do you read it? Have I told you already? Not sure. But all the Namaste React people would already know this, right? So the backend people won't know it, but all the people who are in Namaste React would know this, right? I have told so many times. I have given you a lot of examples and explanation of how you can make dynamic routes, how do you use hooks inside React, and all of things I have taught you in Namaste React, right? For people who have not seen Namaste React, I would highly urge you to go and check out Namaste React. It's a very wonderful series. Again, I have dived deep into the React concepts over there. But amazing, right? So how do you get that target user ID? Let me tell you. So this target user ID that you have dynamic in your URL, you will get it through where? People, Namaste React folks, do you know how will you get that? All the Namaste React folks, right? So there is a hook that we will use that is known as use params, okay? So this use params hooks, basically these are query parameters, right? Not query parameters, path parameters. So these are path parameters that you get from use params, and this use params is a hook which comes from React Router DOM, use params, okay? So this is the target user ID that you get from use params, and let's do a console log and show it to you, right? Whether you get it or not, okay? And now let us also send this, right? So basically, let's go to our connections. So if I go to connections, if I click, let's create a button over here. If I click on it, I go to the chat of Virat Kohli. Okay. So something like that. How do you do that? So this page is connections page. This is the connections component. In this connections component, where are we? This is the connections.map. Over here, we have this age, gender, and then we have this P about. Let's also create a button over here, right? Let's create a button. Oh my God. we have already, this AI is becoming very smart, right? They already know what I'm going to create. Right, so button primary chat. Okay, cool. So here we have a button. Cool. Every component got a button now, right? So we have a chat button over here. Virat Kohli, if you want to chat, I want to align this button over here. Can I do it? How do I do it? Let me just do it. Okay, I need to keep it outside the div. Will it work? X and then over here, right? Cool. And I need to basically, spread it out. How do you do that? You basically need to flex and then justify between or something. Justify between. Will it work? Let's just try. Oh my god. It basically, it just messed things up. Okay, so what I'll do is, let me not justify it. But right? Please fix the CSS. I don't want to spend a lot of time in fixing the CSS over here. But let me just remove this because it is looking ugly. This is still looking a little fine, right? So if I click on this chat, I should be taken to the Virat Kohli's chat, okay? So let's pass in some ID over there. Okay, so when you click on this button, so how do you build that click functionality? You cannot write href over here. You put a link tag over here, right? So all the Namaste React folks would already know this, but this is the link tab. And here you pass in the URL which you want to give. So basically I want to redirect users to /chat and then chat/ and then there is a ID, right? ID of the user, right? So ID of Virat Kohli or ID of Narendra Musk or ID of Donald Trump, Sachin Saraswat and all the other people, right? So how do you get that ID? This is the ID _ID. Right? So basically you are looping, you are mapping over connections. So this is the ID over here. So I'm just passing in ID over here, right? So this is how you do it. So this is the link and I need to wrap this link component outside my button. Sorry, outside this button. Let me remove this. Right? So cool. I think this should be good now. Refresh the page. Cool. So now if I click on chat, what will you see is, if I click on it, see, this is the user ID of Virat Kohli, okay? It ends with DD9C, DD9C, right? This is the Virat Kohli's ID. If I click on Donald Trump, I am going to A2E. This is the Donald Trump's ID, right? So basically, now we have got a URL so that I can chat with this specific user ID, okay? So this becomes handy to manage our routes. And that's all I need to do in connections, I guess. Why it is showing me red? It is showing me ESLint errors because I'm not using this connect. What else error is there? This is error. Okay, so let me just do a console log for now. Otherwise, you can handle your errors correctly. Right, console.error. Okay, that's it. Now the ESLint is happy. Cool. So we have got this chat component. Now let's just write some CSS for this chat component. Okay, let's make it look like a chat, a little bit of chat, right? So how do you make it look like chat? Let's just add some CSS and all that other stuff over here, right? So this chat component can have let's have a heading first of all, right? Shall we add a heading? So I can add a h1 tag and let's call it as chat, right? And then maybe give it some class name and let's give it maybe padding of 5 and I can give it border and then I can give it border B and I can give it border and then I can give it border of gray of maybe let's give it 600 or something. Okay, so this is the chat. Cool. So this looks good, right? So I have given it a border bottom and I have given it a border bottom and border gray 600, right? So this is the heading. Now this is the head portion. Now let's build a chat window where the messages will appear, right? So let's create a chat window where the messages will appear. So I can have a div where I can get some messages and then I will also need a div where I can add some there should be a place where I can send a message, right? There should be an input box and if I click on button, it should send a message. So that will need another div, right? So that will need another div. So basically over here, I want to show some messages. Okay. So over here, I will write some messages, display messages, right? Display messages over here, display messages. And over here, I will have input box or something, right? So I will create an input box, right? And then I will also have a button which says send, right? So button which says send. Cool. So in the input box, let me give it some class name and IDs, right? So first of all, let's give the container some CSS, right? So first of all, let me make this container as maybe width of half the page, right? So and margin auto. How will this look? Cool. So this is coming in the bottom right. This is coming in the center. Now let us also give border to the whole div, right? So it will make it look like border, and I can give it border gray 600, right? Let's be consistent. And then I can give it padding also. No, I don't need padding. I can give it margin, I think, right? Margin of 5. How does it look? Margin of 5, right? Cool. And this looks very bad, right? This looks very white. Okay, my bad. Okay, and this is it. Now it looks very short, right? So let's give it height also. So maybe height I can give it full. How does it look? Okay, it's not working. I can give it a height of maybe you can say 70 viewport, 70 view height. How does it look? 70 view height. Cool. This looks good, right? So 70 view height, and then I can give it a flex, and then I can give it flex column. Cool. So this looks good. Now we have a heading. Now let's create a input box, right? Let's customize our input box. This input box looks very bad, right? So or maybe let's give it some CSS, right? So CSS, let's say padding of, I have given a padding of 5, and I can say border of top, right? I can give it border top, border gray 600. I can make it flex, right? Flex. How does it look? This looks good, right? And then I can say gap 2, right? How does it look? Cool. Now it doesn't look good, and then I can give it item center, right? Items center. Items center. Okay. So it doesn't work, my dear friends, right? And let me also give CSS to our message component, right? I can give it flex of 1, and I can give it overflow of y scroll. Overflow scroll, and then I can give it padding of 5. Cool. Cool. Now it looks better, right? So this is the window, right? This is the window. It takes a message. This input box looks a little, little short. So what I'll do, I'll just customize, give some class names to input also. So for my input box, I can again make it flex 1 so that it takes up a lot of space, and I can give it a border. I can give it border gray, something like that, right? Border gray here, right? Again. So basically, see, you can customize however you wish to. I'm just trying to make it as cool as possible, right? I can give it text white so that the content inside doesn't look bad, right? You can give it a background color also. You can give it a, rounded also. Rounded, you can give it border rounded, right? Basically, if you give it rounded, so it gives you rounded borders. And then also, basically, you can give it a class of padding, right? So if you do that, so this looks good, right? And I can also customize this send button with some colors and a lot of cool things, right? So basically you can give it a class name of maybe background, or maybe you can give it a, button primary or something like that, right? Button primary, tertiary, BTN. These are the classes given to us by, secondary. Cool. This looks good, right? The second button looks good. Okay. So this button secondary is the class given to us by Daisy UI. So I'm not doing anything. So I was about to create a very basic UI, but I have created a good looking UI, isn't it? So this looks good, isn't it? So over here, I will show some messages, right? So how do you show some messages now, right? So let's show some messages. So first of all, I'll have to create, right? Let's create a, let's create a variable, right? So here I will store all the messages in a temporary variable inside my component, okay? So I can call this as messages. Just a minute. This is a local variable, right? State variable, messages, comma, set messages, right? And all the messages I will store over here, right? Use and then state, right? Use state from React. All these messages comes from here, and over here I can display these messages, right? Whenever there will be some messages, suppose it has some, some messages, it will show it like this, right? Messages dot, messages dot map. You can just map over the messages, right? Messages dot map. And for each message, right, you can just, for each message or MSG message, I can just show some, code, and I can return a div, right? So, oh my God, it completed some things for me. Cool. Message from, I don't need this code. I really don't like when AI completes, auto completes my code or something, right? So, okay, so let's show some messages. I would definitely need a key, right? And let's make the key as index over here, right? Because that works, right? Index, and over here I'll show message.text or something like that, right? I don't have a message over here, but suppose if I have messages something like that, right? Messages text, and then I can say HELLO, hello, okay, messages.chat or something like that, right? So I can just say message.text, hello world. So my messages will look something like this, okay? So here, and then there can be some sender and a lot of other stuff, right? So we will talk about that later. But first of all, I was just concerned about building the UI, right? So hope we have done enough in the UI. You can make it more customizable. You can make rounded corners and you can beautify as much as you can, right? I'm just doing a basic stuff, right? And maybe, you can use Daisy UI components also, right? You can go to Daisy UI. And over here, if you'll go to components, here you will find some chat components. Do you have a chat component kind of thing? Yes, see this. Here we have chat bubbles, right? So see, you can use any of it, right? This is how you can show messages. You can show messages like this and all the other stuff, right? So this looks cool, isn't it? So this is how you can show some messages, isn't it? You can just copy this whole thing up and maybe you can show it over here instead of writing this up, right? You can show something like this, right? So why it is complaining? Why is it complaining? Missing key prop. Okay, sorry, my bad. Okay, so basically I'll add a key, right? Key is equals to index. It should not complain now. Yes. So over here you can show how many hours ago the message was there. You were the chosen one seen, and here is the name of the sender and all the other stuff, right? If you'll go over here in DevTender, see, now this message looks cool, right? So this message is from Obi Van Ken Boy and something like this, right? You can just, use this. Suppose Akshay Seni is sending the message. So basically you will see Akshay Seni, you were the chosen one, and here you can show the status and all that other cool stuff, right? So I'm not doing a lot of CSS now. That's it, right? I have already spent like around 25 minutes in just showing you this, right? Where is WebSockets? You will now say, Akshay, where is WebSockets? This is a Namaste Node.js course, not a Namaste CSS one. I'm really bad at CSS, my dear friends. But yes. Now let's just begin with WebSockets. Otherwise, you all will get bored with my CSS skills. My poor CSS skills, you will get bored. Okay, so now let's just start writing some WebSocket code, isn't it? So see, now let me tell you a little bit more about WebSockets. So in WebSockets, client will have to make a connection with the server, and there will be code on both client as well as server for your WebSockets. Okay, so WebSockets is a communication between client and server, and it's a bi-directional connection. So you need to make an connection, right? So for that you need a library. If you'll go to socket.io, it gives you two types of documentation. One is server API, one is client API. Okay, so one by one we will integrate both of them, server API and client API. I generally would like to start with server API because we should write the backend code first, right? I believe that, and that's how you do it. It gives you an option of how do see, this is how you set up the WebSockets on your server. Okay, so let's try to do this, right? How do you do this? Just give it a look. Right? So what you will have to do is, see, this is your existing app. Where is my backend app? This is my backend app. Let me bring it over here, right? So this is my backend app. Now you need to use the existing app and integrate this socket.io. How will you do it? Just look carefully, right? So it extracted this create server method from HTTP module, right? So there is an HTTP module, remember? In the season 1 of Namaste Node.js, in the season 1, remember I was talking about HTTP? I showed you how you can create your own server without using Express. This is the same HTTP create server that we need to use. Okay, so we will use the same create server, and socket.io is the library. You have to do npm socket.io first of all, right? So that you can import it. And this HTTP is a package which is included inside Node, so you don't have to install it or something. You already know, right? From season 1. This is the package that you need to, install basically. So let's install the package first. So the first step is, let's also keep taking down notes meanwhile, right? I just remember that, okay, I have not taken down note. Okay, so I have built the UI for a chat window, right? Build a chat window on /chat path chat, and then you can say target user ID or something. I have just used the word target user ID because I couldn't find a better name. You can say sender or receiver, or I don't know, chat user ID or something like that, right? Target user ID means whom I want to send the message, right? Suppose if I am logged in as Virat Kohli and I want to send message to Donald Trump, so the target user ID is Donald Trump. Okay, Donald Trump's user ID. That's what it is. So create that. You already know front end code. Now set up socket.io in backend, right? So basically you need to install the package first of all, right? You will probably have to do something like this, right? Socket.io, right? So npm install socket.io. Let's do it in the backend, right? This is my backend code, right? Let me just npm install socket.io, right? So this is how you basically install socket.io. My socket.io is now installed in our system, right? npm run dev. Let me again start my server here. Cool. Once I have installed my npm library of socket.io, let's go to app.js file. This is our app.js file. Now here I will have to do the configuration for socket.io in backend, right? So always remember where we are doing this configuration, whether it is a backend or front end, because see, client and server behaves very differently in your socket programming, right? Whenever you are doing this kind of an implementation, it is very different, right? So server API is where you will find backend and client is the front end one, right? So in server API, if you will see the implementation, this socket.io is implemented on this server, right? That you get from HTTP node modules, right? Sorry, HTTP node package, right? So this HTTP node package, do you remember this? This is the same HTTP package which I talked about in our initial days in season 1, right? People who don't know about this HTTP package, go watch season 1. Okay, so socket, whenever you do a IO, right, over here, whenever you make a connection, you always make in this HTTP socket, right? And configuration in an Express app is a little different. Just carefully see what I am doing, right? And then implement it yourself. Because see, we already have our app, right? See, we created an app using Express, and then now we want to include our socket.io in the same application. So I'll tell you how you can configure it. So the first thing you have to do is just import HTTP from HTTP. Okay, so this HTTP from HTTP. Now what I'll do is, now I will create a server. Okay, so I will create a server. So how do you create a server? Let's create a server over here, right? Constant server is equals to http dot create server and this app. What is this app, right? What is this app? This app is this Express application, right? So this app is the existing Express application. I have created a server over here, right? So using this application, I have created a server, and instead of app.listen, this is a very, very careful step that you have to do. If you make mistake over here, then your application will not run. Okay, so make sure, see what I did, constant http, and over here I am creating a server using http.create server, and this app is the Express application, right? This Express app. See, right? Now this app, and now what I will do server.listen, right? I will do server.listen instead of app.listen. Okay, so when you do server.listen, right, this is the configuration that I need for socket, right? This is the configuration that I need for socket. And now once I have this server, I will need this server for my configuration of socket.io, right? For initializing the socketIo, right? So how do you initialize socketIo? See, I can write the whole code over here, right? How do you initialize it? Let me just show it to you. How do you initialize it? You basically have to import socket, right? You can do something like this. Socket is equals to, and then you have to require socket.io, right? You have to get this socket from socket.io, right? And what you need to do is, you have to create an IO is equals to, and then you call it socket, and then in the socket you need to pass this server, right? So this is the important thing. You need to pass the server, and you need to pass some configuration also. And this configuration is basically required CORS configuration. Yes, see this. AI is auto completing my code, right? This I really like, right? Sometimes it is very bad, sometimes it is good, but that is what I wanted. So basically, see, this is the configuration to handle the CORS. Just like we had this configuration on the top, right? To handle this CORS. See, CORS, when you do app.use, similarly, we need this CORS origin over here to handle the CORS issues while communicating using web sockets. Okay, so you need that. But the main thing is that this server is needed, right? This server that we have created is needed over here to initialize this IO. Right? Now, once we have this IO, we will just use this IO to receive the connection. So basically I can do IO.on, and then I can do something like this, connection, right? So whenever I get a new client connection, so I am writing the backend code. See, where is it? I am writing the backend code, this server. So suppose if client is sending a request to server, right? So this is where I accept a connection. What happens when you add a connection? So basically you get a socket over here, right? You get a socket over here, and then you basically write code to handle, right? This is here I will write code. Okay. So this is here I will write code to handle, right? Handle the events. Now over here I will handle events. Okay, so this is how you basically configure it. It looks a little complicated, but let me revise it once again. Shall I? Keep taking down notes. The first thing you will have to do is HTTP require HTTP. Okay, HTTP require HTTP. So this is on the top I did require, right? Now what I will do, I have created a server. These are the code. This is the code that I have written, right? So I created a server, HTTP create server using app, and this app is what? Express, right? On the top. Now I have a socket, require socketIo. and then constant IO socket, and then over here I pass server, right? This is the same server. Now what I'll do, this is for course configuration, and this is how you basically accept connections, right? This is how basically you start listening to connections, right? So this is how you do it. Let me also tell you, my dear friends, that this is not a good place to write all this socket code, right? Let's write it in a separate file, because otherwise this file will become very messy, right? So all this socket code, let me shift it to a new file. Okay, so let me create a new utils file, right? Let's create a utils, and over here I can initialize my sockets or something like that, right? So let's call this as socket.js, something like this. And over here I will shift my code, right? What code can I shift? Over here, let me just create basically a function to initialize socket, right? Initialize socket, and I will basically take a server from there, right? I will basically take server from there, and I will initialize all my socket over here, right? So how do you initialize the socket here? I will just copy the code, right? So basically whatever I did over here, right? All these things I can do in the other file, right? So let's not mess up our app.js, otherwise it becomes a little tricky. Okay, so basically you included this socket, and I will do all of it inside over here, right? So basically like this, okay? And then I can just do a module.exports initialize socket. Does it make sense? So basically I am doing initialize socket, and this initialize socket I will call from here, right? So I'll call my initialize socket, and this initialize socket will come from my util/socket. And what I'll do is I will just basically call it with server. Okay, I will just call it with my server. Does that make sense? And let me again tell you, don't forget to replace this server.listen, otherwise things will not work for you, my dear friends. Okay, cool. So I am initializing everything. Let me just tell you what all code changes did I do, otherwise you will forget. In my app.js, I did this HTTP require, then I initialized the socket, right? I have imported it. This is server is equals to HTTP create server app, and then initialize socket server, and then server.listen, right? Trust me, the configuration is a little tricky, but everything else will be very easy, right? Once you start writing code. Now I have got all my code over here, and I don't need to mess up my app.js file. Always try to keep your app.js file as clean as possible, right? The more cleaner your file will be, the better your code will look like, and better it will be, right? So now you have already seen I can now start accepting, I can now start accepting connections over here, right? So I can start accepting connections. So what I can do is now basically you can just write, suppose if socket dot on, right? Basically you write socket events. So I can say socket dot on, and I can write an event over here. Suppose if I said, okay, somebody wants to join a chat. So I will say, okay, they will send me a message or a event which is known as join chat, right? So now here people can join chat, and in this handler, I will handle all the people who will join the chat. This is how you do it. Okay, so this is how you do. And basically you can say socket.send message, and basically you can similarly say socket.disconnect, socket.on disconnect. See, right? So similarly you can create different type of event handlers over here, right? So did I mess up something? Okay, everything looks good. I think this is the bracket that I miss. Yes. Why do we have error? We have an error in our code. What is wrong here? I think I missed something, right? See, socket, and I am not closing this up. Cool. I close this up. This is the socket that I closed. And don't need to write this. This is IO on. I need to end this. Cool. So IO on, and initialize socket is a function, not over here. Cool. Now this looks good. So basically, IO.on connection, whenever you receive a connection, so these are the event handlers. So basically, I am handling these events from here. Right? Easy peasy, right? This is the configuration that I need to do. So let's do this configuration for now. Now let's move on to the front end side of configurations, right? This is the backend configuration. Do till here. And let me tell you, before I move on to the backend configuration, I want you all to finish this configuration and then come back in this video. First of all, in the front end, create this window. Then the second step should be do this backend configuration. What you need to do, let me revise it once again. First thing is HTTP, require HTTP. Then you need to basically constant server is equals to HTTP create server. Then replace this app with server, and then initialize socket function you need to call. And then when you call this function, you need to basically, import or require your socket from here. And then you need to add this IO, right? IO basically is your socket. When you call this socket function with server, this server comes from your HTTP server, okay? From your app.js file, handle course issue. And then basically you do IO.on. This is very easy, right? IO.on, and you can start receiving your connections. Do till here, and then take a pause over here. Do till here, and then come back once again, and then we will do a client side configuration. Then we will do front end configuration, and I will show you the magic of how you can chat with other users. Okay, so let's just do it. Welcome back, my dear friends. Hope you have done this in the backend. Now let us move to the front end part of it. Now in my chat.jsx, over here, I will first of all have to, before even starting coding anything, first of all, install a package, right? There is a front-end package for your socket.io library that is known as socket.io, right? SOCKET socket.io / client, right? So this is the package for your front-end library, right? So install this socket.io / client. If you will go over here, in the client API, you will find out. See, there are multiple ways of doing this. See this. You can also import this io.js kind of a thing, right? I don't need this. Always go with this package, right? Socket.io client. So if you are using ES modules, you use import. If you are using CommonJS, you can require it like this. We are using this. So basically, I need IO from my socketIO client, right? This is what we are going to do. Okay, hope this makes sense to you. Now what we'll do is, okay, now let me tell you what we'll do is, where is my front end code? Cool. So I have installed it. Let me run my server once again, npm run dev. Cool. So I have run my server once again. Let us configure our socket.io. So again, I will configure not inside my, some files or something. I always love to configure things in a different file, maybe in constants or somewhere else, right? So just like I configure somewhere else, right? So let me just configure inside constants, because it's a very small configuration and you can configure wherever you wish to, right? You can create a separate file also, or let me create a separate file. If you wish, you can create a separate file also. Maybe let's call this as socket.js, or you can do it inside constants. Let's create a separate file. What's the issue here, right? So, and then I will do import IO from my, socket.io / client, socket.io / client. Okay, so this is where I will import my IO from, and then what I'll do is export my constant, and then I will create a socket connection. Okay, so let's create a function, create socket connection, and this function basically creates a connection and returns us the socket object where we can send event, emit events, we can join a chat, we can send messages, we can do a lot of other crazy things with this, right? So it is giving me the code, but I don't want to take this code, right? Basically, no, I don't need this. Chuck it, right? Let's use our own code. So what I will do is basically, I just want to, it's a very basic code. Okay. So I just want to return over here IO, and then this IO function is called using a, you give it a URL, right? Basically, you give it a URL where you need to connect your backend URL. So over here, I will just give it base URL, right? So give it base URL. So this base URL is what? This base URL, if you'll see in the constant, it is localhost, otherwise it's /API, right? So over here, this is it. Let me tell you, this configuration will work on your local system, but this configuration will not work on your, on your production, right? When you will deploy this app, I will tell you what fix you need to do. But first of all, understand that, okay, you just need to return IO base URL, right? That's it you need to do for this point of time. Now you have set up your socket connection here, right? With this base URL. This base URL is the basically your backend URL that you are sending it over here, right? This is where you need to, basically you are telling the client, connect to your backend system, right? Backend URL, right? This is what you are doing over here. Now let's go to our chat, right? Save it. Let's go to our chat.jsx, and over here is the place where I need to basically, where I need to connect to my server, right? So how do you make a connection to your server? This is what I'll show you right now. So what I will do is, as soon as my page loads, I want to connect to my server, right? As soon as the page loads, I want to connect to my server, right? So let's just write this logic over here. I have a use effect, and this use effect should come from my React. Okay. Yes. So this use effect comes from my React over here. Now, first of all, I want to basically, I want to connect to my, basically I want to connect to my server. So how do you do that? First of all, I'll have to import that socket, right? So I will need that socket, socket, constant socket, and then I will create a connection. Where is it? Not. So socket, create socket connection. Okay. So I need to basically create a socket connection. So create socket connection. Okay. So basically, as soon as the page loads, so this use effect, all the React people will already know. As soon as the page loads, so basically this use effect is called, and I create a socket connection. I am creating a socket connection, and I get this object over here, this socket object. Now I will use this socket to basically, emit events, right? I can now emit events, right? That is how, you have seen that, right? When I was telling you the docs over here, these three words: low latency, bidirectional, event based. So this event based means all these are events. This join chat is event, send messages event, disconnect is event. Similarly, over here you can send events, right? You can send events. How do you send events? Let me just show it to you. So first thing that you can do is you can say emit an event, socket.emit join, right? See, basically it is already giving me, right? Socket.emit join, and then I can give it, give it a user ID, or I can give it a room where I can join, right? Basically it gives you it needs to send some data to your backend, right? So what I'll do is I will create an event join, and I will give it some data, right? I will give it both the user IDs. I will give it target user ID, whom I want to send message, and I will also give the existing user ID, right? The logged in user ID. So basically, whosoever is logged in over here, I will give their ID and the ID of the person whom I want to chat with, right? Both these IDs I will give it, right? So how will I send this data? So assume that this is kind of like a API call you are making. This is the URL or the event that you are calling, and this is basically the data that you want to pass. Simple. You are kind of sending an message or sending an API call kind of thing. It's not an API call. Don't say this in an interview, otherwise your interviewer will screw you. But just to make things simple for you, understand it like you are sending a join API. You are making a join API call with this data. Okay, so I'm sending this event join with the data of my the members whom want to chat, right? The members who wants to chat, this is the data I'm sending. So basically I want to send the user ID of the logged in user, and this is the target user ID, right? So how do you get the logged in user ID over here? So if you will see in my Redux store, you will find the logged in user ID, right? So over here, I have my user and ID, right? The logged in user ID. Akshay Saini is logged in. This is the Akshay Saini's ID. How do you get it in your React application? So people who don't know, it's very easy. So user, logged in user is basically I need to call a use selector, right? Yes, use selector. And this use selector, you basically store, and then you can say store.user. So basically this will give you the logged in user. This is the user, and now user ID is your user.id, right? Basically it's your let me just write it down, right? Just for your sake of understanding. So basically you do user._id, right? So you are basically referring to this underscore ID as the ID in the Redux state of this user object, right? This is the ID. Here is this ID. And now you basically do user._id and you get this user ID. This is the logged in user ID and the target user ID. And when I emit this event, as soon as I emit this event, my backend will receive an event to join, right? Make sure that, okay, this is join chat, right? This is join chat. So let's make sure the name of these two events are same. Otherwise things can mess up, right? So always make sure that these two names are same. This join chat. So basically whenever you are emitting an event over here, join chat, here is where you will get it. This is the backend code, right? Now this is the front end code. You have emitted an event, join chat, and this is the backend code, join chat. Okay, so now you will handle things over here, right? I will just, I will just tell you, right? I will write code over here, but let me just do one more important check. Whenever you are creating a socket, right? You are doing something like this, right? Create socket connection. Make sure you are disconnecting the socket also. It's very, very important. See, as soon as you load the page, right? Now your component will be loaded. Go to your network tab, right? As soon as you load the page, right? Let me tell you, let me refresh this page. If I refresh this page, you will see an important thing, right? Okay, it's failing. I think the code is failing for some reason. Why? Cannot read properties null of undefined, right? Okay, because initially the code will be null. So I'll have to make sure, right? Chat.jsx user.id, right? So basically this could be null, right? So potentially make it like this, right? Use an optional chaining, because on the initial render, this user will be null, right? Because React renders it in multiple cycles. All the Namaste React students would know it. React renders it in multiple cycles. So initially user will be null, but as soon as it renders it once again, it will get the user ID, right? So now this should work, right? So if I refresh the page now, see, this started working, right? And if you'll go to network tab, see, it has started making socket connections. Do you see this? You will see a lot of, if you refresh the page, you will see that it is making a socket connection. A socket connection is established with the backend, right? So it has sent a socket connection request over here, right? See this. It has sent a socket connection request, and it has also received a 200 OK. That means your connection is done, right? Basically, there is a server which is listening to this, right? Okay, so this is a perfectly valid. Your code should reach over here. I would request you, please pause the video over here. Do this configuration till here and make sure, right? What all things I did. Let me just revise it once again, right? In my socket.io file, okay, this looks very confusing. Let me go and show it to you over here, right? In the socket.js file, I have written this code, right? Basically, I have imported IO from socketIo client. I installed first of all socketIo client. Then I did IO. Then over here, I am just exporting return IO and base URL. That's it I am doing, right? Now what I did is in my chat.jsx, I have just written this use effect. I have created a socket connection and I have emitted an event which is join chat. So basically what I want to do is, as soon as my page loads, please join the chat, right? So what I am doing is, let me just take down notes. As soon as the page loads, I am going a little slow, very, very slow, because I want you all to understand what I am doing. I can go very fast also. I can write code very fast, right? I can just quickly do all the things and you will see the chat happening. But I want to teach you the meaning of each and every line that you write, right? So basically over here, I'm creating a connection. I'm emitting the join chat. So as soon as the page loads, this use effect means as soon as your page will load, this will emit an event join chat and it will start, as soon as the page is loaded, the socket connection is made and join chat event is emitted, right? So basically connection is made and you say join chat. Okay, so that's what you are doing over here, right? Now the major important step is cleanup. Whenever this component unloads, you need to do cleanup of this event also. You cannot leave the socket connections empty. Never ever do that. It's a very, 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 very important performance thing, right? Otherwise you will have like loose socket connections here and there. You really don't want to do that, right? So please be careful when you are dealing with WebSockets. You don't need to lose, you don't need to like have random open connections here and there. So in your applications, whenever all the React people would already know that in the use effect, you can also write a return, right? And this return is called whatever you pass in over here. In this return, whatever function you pass in over here, this function is called when the component unloads, when the component unmounts basically, right? So when the component unmounts, I need to basically do socket dot disconnect, right? So there is a function socket dot disconnect. So this socket dot disconnect is called, I want to disconnect this socket whenever the components unmount. And I can also write a console log if you want to, but I am okay with it, right? Socket dot disconnect. Okay. So whenever your component will load. So now what code I have written? As soon as my component loads, create a socket connection, send this event. Okay. Emit this event. As soon as my component unloads, I want to disconnect from my socket. So this is the setup that you need to do. Please do it till here. Come back once again. Now I will show you how you can handle these events in your backend. Okay. So let me just show it to you how you can handle these events in your backend. So now, whenever you receive an event, you receive the same data, right? You receive the same data that you sent over there, right? You send this data over here, right? User ID, target ID, and I will tell you that why we need this user ID and target ID. See this. I have added this user ID and target ID over here. Now, I need to create a room over here, right? So whenever there is a chat that happens inside a room. And in that room, there are some participants. Think about it like that. Whenever there will be a chat, whenever there will be a socket connection, we can create a room, right? When you create a room, in that room, there can be room has a room ID. And there can be multiple participants in that room, right? That room, right? And they can chat with each other. That's what the whole purpose is, right? So what I will do is I will create a separate room for these two people. See, there can be a lot of users randomly connecting to random chats, right? So I want to make sure that suppose if Akshay is trying to connect to Virat Kohli, it's not that they are chatting, their chat is separate. So it's a separate room that I need to create. And suppose Akshay is connecting to Donald Trump. Akshay is texting Donald Trump. Then the room should be very different. Donald Trump is connecting to Virat. The room should be very different. So I have to create a separate room for individual people. That's what I want to say. Okay. So I need to create a room. How do you create a room? Everything will make sense, right? Everything will make sense. So basically you create a room. And now when you create a room, right? when you create a room, so basically when I say a room, right? So basically it needs a unique ID. So let's say unique ID, right? Once I have this unique ID, now I will just do socket dot join, and then I will just do room. Got it? So basically see, again, let me explain you once again. This is a tough concept. A lot of people don't understand what is done over here. So basically what I am trying to do, whenever somebody opens this page up, right? Suppose I am opening this page up. So it creates a socket connection with the server. We need to create a room. We need to create a room in that server with a unique ID, right? And then you do socket.join room. So one connection is established in a particular room. This concept of room, you will understand it very, very soon, right? And this room should have a unique ID. Now this unique ID, how do you create this unique ID? This is the reason why I need the ID of both the users, right? So that I know where connect, so basically I'm trying to create a connection between one user ID and second user ID, and I need to create a room for just these two people, right? Assume that there are thousands of people who are sending connection requests. See, this code will be called by like thousands of people simultaneously. How do you know which person wants to chat with whom? And how do you connect both of them? You connect via room. And this room will have a unique ID. And let's create a very simple room ID. Okay. How do you create a simple room ID? Let's say user ID 1 underscore user ID 2, right? We can create a room ID like this. Okay. So how do you create a room ID like this? Let me just show you. User ID. You have this, and then you can say dot join, right? Dot join, and then you can say dot join, and then I can say underscore. Okay. I can put an underscore in between. So basically user ID underscore target ID is my room ID, right? So, and I can also say, okay, console.log. Okay. I can just say console.log, and I can just basically say that, okay, I can just basically say that room joining room, and then I can just say, joining room, and then I can just say this room ID, right? Basically this room ID. Okay. So this is my room ID. Cool. So now I can join the room, right? So let me refresh this page and let me show you what you see on the server. Let me save this code up. If I refresh the page, if I go over there, if I refresh the page, right? If I refresh the page, it is giving me an error. Why it gave me an error? It is giving me an error. Why it gave me an error? Let me refresh the page. Okay. So there is some error in connection. App crashed. Room is not defined. My bad. Okay. So room ID. Sorry. My bad. Okay. So I am facing issues. If I refresh the page, let me clear and let me refresh the page. So you will see this joining room and then underscore this ID. So basically the user ID did not come, right? So the user ID did not come. Why? Because the user ID is initially null or empty, right? So basically I need to make sure that use effect is called on every user ID change, right? So whenever my user ID changes, I need to call this, or my target user ID changes, I need to call this. Okay. So you should do this also. Target user ID changes, I need to call this, right? And basically only create socket connection, only call this, see, let me also write like this. If my user ID exists, if my user ID is not there, don't create connections and all that other stuff, right? I just want to return. That's it, right? So basically, I don't want to create socket connection if my user ID is not present. Okay. So on each and every render or something like that, right? So now if I refresh my page once again, let me just clear this backend console. And if I refresh my page once again, see this, if I refresh my page once again, now you will see joining room this. Right? This is the user ID of Akshay, the logged in user, and this is the user ID of the person whom I want to chat with. Akshay is chatting with Virat Kohli. So basically, this is the user ID of Virat Kohli. This is the user ID of Akshay. Suppose now, if Virat Kohli wants to chat with Akshay, okay? So let's do that, right? Can we do that, right? Let me open an incognito window, right? This is my incognito window. Okay, so here, this is Akshay chatting with Virat Kohli. And here, let me open the chat for, let's open the chat for Virat Kohli. Okay. So these are the client, two people chatting with each other. This is Akshay. Welcome, Akshay. Let's go over here. Let me just, inspect. Right. Cool. So I don't need to go to chat. Let's go over here, right? Let me log in. So I need to log into Virat, right? virat@gmail.com. See, I want to go slow. Please understand what I am doing, right? I know this can be a little boring also and a little tricky, but I want to explain you, right? So this is Virat Kohli, right? Now let's go to connections. So now if I go to connections, so Virat Kohli has a connection, Akshay Saini, right? If I go to the chat over here, see this. Now Virat Kohli must have joined the chat, and if you will see over here, see this. Joining room this. Joining room and this. Now I can also say who is joining the room. Let's send it from the front end, right? Let's send from the front end. I can also send extra information also, right? So let me send the logged in user's name also so that you understand properly, right? So I'm just for your reference, right? User.first name. Okay. Let me just send the first name also. So how can I send? I can just send user.first name also, right? So first name, and then I can say user.first name. Okay. So these are the data that I am sending. Right now in backend, when this, let me just get this first name, right? First name. And let me just log this to show it to you, right? So basically first name joined the room, right? Joined room ID. Okay. So first name joined room ID, right? This is what I want to show. Now let me just refresh one by one, right? So if I refresh this page, see this, you will see Akshay joined the room this, right? And Virat, if I refresh the page, Virat joined the room this. And these two, if these two room ID are same, then they are talking to each other. Now you understood this. Sometimes it is very easy for me in my head, but to explain you, it is very tough. These two room IDs should be same. So see, these two room IDs are still not same because see, this first room ID is second over here, right? We need to somehow make this room ID same, right? How can I do that? Let me just sort it here, right? You know why do I do sort? I can sort it so that the room IDs of two people are same, right? See this. Save, right? Now let me refresh the page. Now they will connect to the same room ID, right? See this. Refresh and refresh over here, right? So if I will do this, see, now their room IDs are same, isn't it? So Akshay joined the room this, Virat joined the room this. So now this room ID, this room will contain only Virat and Akshay. Suppose there are hundreds of people making WebSocket connections. This is a very simple thing that people don't understand, and this is where your basic WebSocket knowledge is applied. Suppose if there are hundreds of people making connections, I just want to connect one person to a specific person. Suppose I want to connect Akshay to Virat. I want to make sure that their room IDs are correct. So that is why I am creating the room ID like this. Got it? So the room ID, Akshay and Virat are connected in the same room ID. Now, if I will send message to this room, if Akshay will send message to this room, it will go to Virat. And if Virat will send message to this room, it will go to Akshay. Now you understood? These two people are connected to the same room ID. I will show you the demonstration with a lot of people also. Don't worry. But for now, I am just showing you these two things, right? Now let us send the message. Okay. I have joined the chat. Now I can write code to send the message. How do I send the message? Right? Suppose Akshay wants to send the message. So how do I send the message? I can type in over here, click on send, and it should send the message, right? So basically, let's write the front end code for it, right? When you write the front end code for it, where is it? This is my backend. This is my front end code, right? So over here, I have this input box, right? Input box. And over here, I can just write a state variable. I can bind it to a state variable, and let's call this as new message, right? New message, set new message, right? This is the new message. And then I can just say use state, and then I can just give it like empty text or something for initially. Cool. So new message, set new message, use state, like this, right? And now in the input box, I can just give it, in the input box, I can give it value is equals to new message is equals to new message, right? And in the value is equals to new message. And I can also set on change over here, on change, basically on change. And then for this event, I can just say set new message e.target.value. Do you see what I did there? So basically what I am saying is I want to bind this to this new message variable, right? And now whenever I click on this button, on click of this button, I want to call a function. Let's call this as send message, right? Send message, MESSAGE, right? Send message function. Now let's write this send message function. Cool. Send message function, right? Send message function. Cool. In this function, I want to basically do socket.emit and send message, right? Now I basically want to send message from here. I can do socket.emit send message, right? And I want to send this message. Now I can send it. Who is sending the message, right? Now I can send this. Who is sending the message, to whom they are sending the message, and what is the message, right? So I can just say who is sending the message. I can say, okay, this user is sending the message, right? I can say user ID. I can also send first name, last name, whatever you wish to send. I can just say first name. This is the person who wants to send the message. And I can also give them user ID, right? I can give it user ID. Then I can give it target user ID. And then also I can give it, I can also give it a message, right? Whatever message, MESSAGE message, right? And this message, I am sending the message. Let's call this as text, right? It's a text message. I can call it whatever I wish to, right? And I want to basically now send this message, right? Text message, and this is my new message here, right? This is the new message which I am writing in the input box. Now, what is the first name here? This first name is not recognized because it's user.firstname, right? So basically first name is your user.firstname, user.firstname. Okay. And this socket is not recognized because the socket connection we have created in use effect. So see, the socket connection we created inside use effect. So you cannot use it outside use effect. So basically you can create another socket connection here, right? Create socket connection. Cool. So it will connect to backend. Now I can send the message, first name, user ID, target ID, text, message. Got it? Do you see what I did here? Do you see what I did here? Now, once I send all these messages, I can listen to this message over here. Right? I can listen to this message over here. Why? How? See, the same data that I passed over here will be transferred over here, right? Will be transferred over here. Sorry, this is the first name. Cool. This is the same data will be transferred over here. Now what I will do whenever I receive the message, see what happened is, now suppose Akshay wants to send message to Virat Kohli. So Akshay is sending the message. So Akshay has emitted this message, send message, to the backend, right? Now backend has to make sure that it is sending the message back to Virat Kohli. How will we do that now? How will we do that now? That is the main thing, right? So how will we do that now is basically now I have to do IO dot to basically now whatever message I have got, I have to send it to a room, a particular room, right? So to a room ID, right? How will I get the room ID? Again, I'll have to create a room ID, isn't it? Again, I will have to create a room ID. And how do I create a room ID? You already know, right? The same way over here. So I need to, whatever message I have got, I have to send it io.to room ID, right? I have to send it to this room ID. And what I need to do is then emit a message and then emit a, we can call this as, we can call this as, now basically, now basically server is sending the message. See, whenever you find emit, this means server is sending the message, right? Emit, and now I need to say that, okay, I need to emit one more, new message received or one more event, right? And let's call this event as maybe new message received or message received. Whenever message is received, you call this, you emit this message received, right? And then you emit a particular message, or you can emit any data over here, right? So how do you emit the data? You can just emit this text, you can emit the first name, you can emit whatever you want to. Let's emit who is sending the message, right? First name, and then I can say new message that we have got, right? Or basically you can say the text which you have got, or you can just write, sorry, my bad. Let's say text, right? So basically here you will have to text, right? The fourth parameter is text, or you can also call this as new message, whatever you want to call this as, right? See, I have got first name, user ID, target. So again, see this. When I have receiving this event send message, so I have created a room ID. This room ID will make sure that whatever message I am receiving, I am transferring it to the same ID, right? I am transferring it to the same ID, right? And I can also log, right? We have received a message, console.log, right? I can just say whatever I have received over here. Let's say, okay, first name, and then it's saying, and then I can just say a message, right? Whatever the new message is. Cool. So this is what it is. Now let's try and see if we have received this message, right? Let's try and see if we have received this message. Refreshing the page, right? So see, sorry, my bad. Let me test it up once. I know this is a little complicated, but it's very interesting. Do it yourself. When you do it yourself, you will get confidence. When you will do it yourself, you will get confidence. If I refresh the page, see, Akshay joined room, right? Now let Virat Kohli also join the room. Virat joined the room, this, right? Now, suppose Akshay wants to send the message, right? Akshay said, hello Virat, right? If I said hello Virat, let's see if it goes or not. If I click on send, see, Akshay undefined, right? It did not come. Why? Some error over here, right? So it happens generally, right? Let me just see what error is here. So I have created a socket connection, send message, and I'm sending text new message, right? I am sending text over here, right? So I need to extract text from here. My bad. So basically, see, this text is the name over there, right? So I need to extract it using text, right? So basically text. Cool. And this is text. Got it? So now again on the server, my server restarted. So let's connect once again. Akshay is connected. Refresh. Virat is connected. Akshay joined the room. Virat joined the room. Now Akshay is sending. Now let me say Virat is sending the message. Hello Akshay, right? So now Virat is sending the message. If I click on send, new message is not defined. Where? Socket.js20, right? So let's see. Socket.js20 here. Okay, this should be text, my bad. Oh my god. Always some random bugs, my dear friends. Let me refresh the page. It should work, right? I'm fingers crossed it should work, right? Akshay joined the room, Virat joined the room, and hello Virat, right? If I send this message, so see, Akshay says hello Virat. So now we have got this message on backend. Now I need to send this message to Virat, and Virat would have received this message, but we should have a way to see inside our chat messages. We should have a way to see inside our chat messages. Basically, see, what we are doing is whenever we are sending a message from front end, we have received it on backend, right? We have received it on backend. We have transferred it to the room, right? Now I want my application to, now suppose Virat Kohli has got this message. See, Virat Kohli would have got this message over here, right? If you will see over here, Virat Kohli would get this message, right? Would get this message. I'll show you later on. But what I'm trying to say, now Virat received this message, but I want to show it over here. How will I show it? Let me just show you. Go to the front end code and you have to listen to that receive message event also, right? That receive message event. Because see, over here, message received event we are emitting. Now we need to listen to this message receive event on the client, right? So now basically what we will do, I will do socket.on whenever there is a receive message event, right? Whenever there is a receive message event, now I will get this message, right? What message? This, right? Now my server is sending the message and my client is receiving, right? My server is sending and the client is receiving over here. Okay. So I have got this message, and then let us just do console log to see first of all, right? If we get the message, first name, right? Plus colon and the text. Let's see if we receive the message, then we'll show it on the UI. So see, so basically now we are saying, see, in Virat Kohli, he will join the chat and then message received will happen, right? So let's just try it out once again. Refresh the page once again. Refresh the page once again. Let's send a message. Hello, Virat, right? And if you'll see the console log, our console log should print. If I click on send, see this. Virat Kohli received the message, hello, Virat. Do you see this amazing thing? Do you see this amazing thing? Right? This is the beauty, right? This is the beauty over here. I can just see that, okay, Akshay, and then it says, hello, Virat. Now, suppose if Virat is sending the message, Akshay should also receive, right? And see, Akshay is also connected to the same room. Now, Akshay is getting his message also and Virat is getting his message also. See, now Virat is sending the message, hey, Akshay, right? And Virat is sending the message, hey, Akshay. So see, Virat sent, hey, Akshay. See, both of the places, because these two clients are connected to the same room, anybody sends the message, the room is notified. This is the whole WebSocket, my dear friends. If you understand this, whole WebSocket is clear. Two people connected to the backend server in the same room, whenever they send a message, both of them receives. All the members will receive. All the people who are there on that room will receive that message. That simple, that easy. That's all you need to do, right? So basically, we have got this. Now we just have to display it on our chats. That's all. And I think this chat window looks a little, short, right? Let's make it a little wider, right? How do we make it a little wider? Let's go and improve the UI, right? So in the UI, I can just say this is half. It is taking half, right? Let's say it takes 3/4. Can I do 3/4 here? 3/4. Cool. Yep, this looks good now, right? So now let us just show the messages over here, right? Interesting, isn't it? So instead of this message, I want to show actual messages of the users, right? Actual messages that I receive. Cool. So now let us just see the messages, right? App. No, I should go to front end. In my front end, we had this send message messages objects, right? Set messages. Instead of this, let me just make it empty for now. Right, let me just make it empty for now. Initially, the messages will be empty so that my chat is empty. Now I will populate it with messages, right? Now I will populate it with messages. How? Whenever I will receive a message, I will push it to send message, right? So send message is an array, right? Sorry, messages is an array. So I will just push it inside this array, right? So I will do set message, right? Set messages, MESSAGES, set messages. And over here, in this array, I will basically all the messages, and then I will push in one more text message, which is my text and the first name, right? The first name and the text. First name, comma, text. Okay, now I have set the messages, first name and the text. So now it will go inside this messages. Now I just need to display it on the front end. I will go over my JSX code. Over here where I have written Akshay Saini, over here I should ideally write message.firstname, right? Message.firstname, and then where the chat is there, message dot message dot message dot text. Sorry, my bad. I am also getting confused. Message dot text. Cool. So now you should see everything in action. Trust me. Fingers crossed. Everything should work perfectly fine, my dear friends. Right? Everything should work perfectly fine. Hope so. Right? Let me just see if things work properly. If I refresh the page, right? If I refresh the page over here, Akshay and Virat are refreshing the page. Akshay joined the room, Virat joined the room. They have joined the correct room. Make sure that these both people are joining the same room. Your logs should be proper. If your logs are not proper, then you will not understand that Akshay is sending the message to some other room. Virat is sending the message to some other room. It will not happen, right? Now, let us just write this over here. If I say hello, Virat, right? Hello, Virat. So it says, if I click on send, do you see this? Akshay says hello, Virat, and Virat is receiving it instantaneously. This is real-time WebSocket connection, my dear friends. Even if you are anywhere on the internet, see, Akshay is also connected to a server. Virat is also connected to a server. Akshay is sending the message to a room. And then as soon as the message is received in that room emits it. How do room emits it? io.toRoom, right? Where is it? In the backend code I have written io.toRoom. Here, right? In this room ID. As soon as Virat receives it, it shows, right? Now suppose if Virat is sending the message, hey Akshay, how are you doing? Right? So if I say this and if I click on send, do you see this? Now, again, right? See this. Now Virat is sending the message. Akshay is also receiving. But now we are not seeing the messages over here. Why? I don't know. Maybe it is getting replaced. It is not getting added, right? So I need to do something, right? My messages are not, my messages are getting replaced basically. They are not getting appended. They are getting replaced, right? So what you need to do is basically you have a mistake in your front end code. Where is it? So basically, yes. So I am doing set messages over here. So I am adding this array of ... messages. So this generally happens because you are doing you are editing the state using the same variable. So basically you don't do it like this, right? So if you have to do it properly, you should basically get the previous state. So basically the previous state messages, right? You get the messages and then basically you do this, right? So now it will properly work, right? So let's go back, refresh the page once again. So if you'll refresh the page, we are not storing the chat anywhere, so it will get lost, right? Hey Virat. See this, Akshay got hey Virat. Now say, hey Akshay, how are you doing? Right? If I write this and send it, do you see this? Now I can properly chat, right? And then I have to, see this. This is staying over here. So basically you can do these small improvements. Whenever you send the message, then this should become empty, right? So how do you do that? So where is it? Your send message. Whenever you are emitting this message, just make your new message empty, right? Set new message is empty, right? So that, see, after you hit enter, basically after you will send, so this will become empty, right? And after you hit send, this will become empty and it reaches over here. Do you see this? This is amazing, my dear friends. So this is what is live WebSocket connection. Two people are connected with each other. Now, let me also test it once again with some other connections, isn't it? So let's go back to Akshay's some other connections, right? Let's go back to our connections and let's go to some other, let's say Donald Trump, okay? I want to chat with Donald Trump. Let me log out with Virat Kohli. And let me log out to, now let me first of all log into Virat Kohli and let us just see, right? Virat@gmail.com. Virat@123, right? So here is, I am logged into Virat. If I am going back to connections, if I go back to Akshay, so I want to show you that, okay, I am now in the chat of Donald Trump, right? So basically if I am sending, hey Trump, send message. So see, Virat is not receiving it. Why Virat is not receiving it? Tell me. Why Virat is not receiving it? Because they are on other room, right? See this. They are on some other room. Akshay joined this room. So Virat Kohli is in some other room, right? All together other room. So that is what I am saying, right? So now let me just log out and let me log in with Trump, right? Trump@gmail.com, right? So I'm logged in with Trump. Now let me go to connections. Let's chat with Akshay, right? So if I click on Akshay, so now I am connected to Trump, kind of, right? Trump says, hey Akshay. So I should receive the message ideally. Cool. See this. Now Donald send me the message, hey Akshay. And if so what I'm saying is, with the concept of these rooms, you can just basically, secure the messages between two people, right? There are a lot more other, ways of authenticating and securing these chats. One way is to authenticate these sockets using a auth, right? Read about it on socket.io. I would like to give you this as a homework, right? But basically what I'm trying to say, whenever I'm sending a message, it is receiving quickly. But see, there are multiple ways you can secure your, connections. Now basically see, suppose if somebody gets to know the user ID of two people, they can just make a socket connection and send messages using that, room ID, and it will be printed on both of your chats. So somebody can hack your chats. So what you can do is, you can make this algorithm of this creating this room ID even more secure, right? You can create this room ID even more secure way. Do you want to know that? So basically, let me just show you. Basically, you can just use this, instead of using this plain text, you can do a crypto SHA hash something, right? That somebody cannot guess. Okay, got it? So instead of using these plain strings, you can hash things up, right? So how do you hash things up? It is taking a lot of time, but let me just show you. Otherwise, you people will say Akshay is not teaching us, right? I don't really want to sound like that. So basically you can say get room ID or something, get hash, get secret room ID, right? Secret room ID. You can create your own algorithm to make your room ID as complex as possible so that nobody can guess it. Because if somebody gets to guess your room ID, there can be a problem. Okay. So how do you get room ID? So basically you can do a hash over here. I am creating a function. So basically you can just use the crypto library. So remember, there is a library crypto, CRYPTO, crypto is equals to require crypto. And then you can basically do whenever you are returning. So basically you can do crypto and then crypto, right? And then you can do crypto dot create hash. So basically you can create hash, and then you need to give it what type of hash do you need to create. So I am saying I want to create a SHA-256, right? And then you update it and then update, and here you basically give your string that what you need to hash. So you can create your algorithm. So basically you can just, do something like this, right? You can give the string over here. Okay, so this is your secret string ideally, right? And then it creates a hash, and then don't forget to just digest it using hex, right? So basically it's a secure way of doing it. Now basically you created a hash. Once you create a hash, you can just return it from here and then get secret room, and you pass in this user ID and target ID here, right? User ID comma target ID. Sorry, target user ID. Some issue here. What did I do? Nope. Like this. Cool. So this is what it is. Now I can just use get secret ID. Okay. So every time I am not just creating this plain secret ID, I can just say get secret ID, and I can just get secret room ID, and I can pass in this information right here. User ID and the secret ID, I can pass in user ID, and I can pass in target user ID. Cool. And I can also not put these brackets here for simplicity. Cool. So this is how you do it. And similarly, you can also get this room ID in the same fashion. Now I'll show you how it looks, right? So see. Now, basically now your room ID will look like a hash, right? So nobody can basically guess it. Suppose if somebody gets to know your user ID also, they cannot guess it, right? So Akshay connected. See, Akshay joined the room, and this is a very complex kind of a hash, right? So this is something which somebody cannot guess. So you can make it more secure. Your room IDs can be more secure, right? And you can, suppose if Donald want to join a room, see, if Donald joins a room, see, Donald also joined the room, but these two rooms that we have joined are same. And it is created using your hash ID. So you can change your algorithm accordingly, right? You can, no need to do like this. Maybe you can join it by $1, or you can make it more complex kind of a thing, right? Join it by $1 so the whole hash would change, right? Something like that. So your room IDs should be very safe. Other thing is, there is one more way of authentication. If you will read the socketIo documentation, right, it will give you the param. So let me just show you how. Go to APIs. Server APIs, and if you go to options, so do you see an auth here somewhere? Auth, or maybe in the API itself, right? Do you see auth here? Auth. How do you use auth? I want to give you, see this. This is a auth param that you need to find, but I'm just trying to find the documentation of auth. If I can get, because see, I want to show you a good way of authentication. How do you say auth? Where do you get this options? Command F, auth. Authorization. Auth. So it's there in the document. Does this documentation have a search? Yes, it's there. Yes. Auth, right? So auth client options, see this. So now you can basically see, you can just authenticate your token like this, right? So read about this. So see, whenever you have a client over here, right? Whenever you are connecting with a client, so make sure whenever you are doing an IO, so you can pass in auth token over here, right? You can pass it auth token over here. Do you understand that? So basically how, this is your homework, okay? I'm not going to show you, right? This is perfectly your homework. So whenever you are connecting to your socket, right? Basically you are calling this IO, you can pass in the auth over here, right? Basically in this IO, you can pass in this parameter auth over here, right? This auth, right? And in this auth, you can pass in token ABCD, and in the backend, you can verify that token, right? On the backend, you can verify this token. Got it? So similarly, you can verify it. See, on the server you can just do a handshake kind of a thing, right? Whenever you are making a connection, so just receive this socket, you can do socket handshake.auth, right? It prints the token. So basically now once you get the token from here, from the auth socket.handshake.auth, you can verify whether the token is correct or not. So you can see whether the suppose if somebody is calling your WebSocket, so that user is authenticated, it is there in the database or not, right? So something like that, right? Whether the user is logged in or not, whether you can also pass in JWT token. Similarly, just like we verified password, right? Similarly, you can also create a function to verify whether the socket connection is secure or not. Very easy thing. You have to read this documentation. This is your homework. Don't ask me to help you with this I will not show you, right? It's very easy, right? See, this is the client code. You basically need to pass the auth. You need to receive the auth like this and validate it. How do you validate? jwt.verify. Remember, right? So similarly, you do jwt.sign, jwt.verify, you know everything. Just go and implement that authentication, right? And then that is it, right? You basically can just verify it, right? So this you need to do. One more thing that is there is, I'm just texting hey, right? And I'm sending this message over here, right? So it is, oh my God, why I'm not receiving this? Refresh. Okay. So I'm sending the message hey. So yes, I'm receiving it here and I'm just sending the message hey air, right? And I'm receiving this message. Now, what we have to do is, we need to store these messages also. Because see, this is not a perfect chat. This chat, if I refresh the page, it will go away, right? If I refresh the page, it will go away. Now, how do you store this chat? How do you extract this chat? How do you store it into the database? That is even more advanced concept. I will show you how you can create your DB schema to store these chat messages. I will show you a lot more cool things in the next episode, because this is going very long. I can't show you in this, but what I want from you is, please implement till here. Then watch the next episode. I will take this app to one more deeper level, where I will store these chat in our database, and then whenever somebody comes back, we will remember the chat, right? Right now it is just vanishing. We are just using WebSockets over here. I am saying hello, Donald Trump is receiving hello, Donald Trump is saying hello, but as soon as we refresh the page, suppose Donald Trump is saying namaste, right, to us. Donald Trump is saying namaste to us. So it is getting lost, right? If I refresh the page, everything is lost because we are not storing anything. So let us, in the next episode, let us store things up in your database, and then we will make the full-fledged chat application, right? And then I will show you complex cases also, where Akshay can chat to Donald Trump and Virat Kohli simultaneously. That will be amazing, right? So we will see all of it in the next episode, my dear friends. That's all in this video. Hope you would have enjoyed it. This can be a little tricky concept, but I want you to please, try it out yourself. Write the code once again, right? Write the code once and then write it once again. When you will do it 2 times, then it will become very easy for you. It's very easy. For me also as a teacher, when I was preparing content for this episode, it was taking a lot of time for me to wrap up the head, because see, I know in my head what I am writing, but how to explain you in easy words. So that is, and the concept of rooms, right? Because if you don't understand the concept of rooms, nothing. Right? You won't understand anything. You will mess up, right? Akshay will send message to some random room. Virat will send message to some random room. I will show you how you can, create rooms. I showed you all of that. Hope you would have understood it. If you did not understand, watch this video once again. Watch this video 2-3 times. There is no limit on watching the video. Watch this video multiple times. Keep taking down notes. Understand what I am doing. Go repeat what I did, and then do it 2 times. Then you will understand it. Then everything will be clear. Right? So this is what it is. In the next episode, I will store these chat and also deploy it on our devtinder.in domain, right? Everything will be on the domain name, right? And you will see your live chat working on the devtinder.in domain name, and you can chat with each other. That would be amazing, isn't it, my dear friends? So I will show you how you can modify your configurations to make it work live on production. I will show you everything. you know I really wanted to dive deep into the advanced concepts, and I'm really happy that I'm teaching you WebSocket, socket.io, so that you can do it. And in the same way, you can create your own chess application also. Remember how you have to join two people in the same room and then send their moves. Now you understood, right? If I can send message from here to here, so I can store my chess also, right? I can create a chess game also. That is an idea for you to create in your in your project. You can create your own chess application, you can create your own different type of games, because see, games needs to be real time. Suppose if somebody is playing some random carom game over here, or somebody is playing a tic-tac-toe over here, you can create a tic-tac-toe game application where two people can connect and play with each other on a tic-tac-toe, right? You can create a lot of games, because games needs to connect two people in a same room, right? That is how you manage it. I will tell you a lot of more cool things also, some advanced things also in the next episode. Wait for it. And that's all in this video, my dear friends. I'm excited, so excited to create the new video. I will record the video just after, right? I'll just stop the video over here. I will give this video for editing, and then I will start recording the next video. Hope you will enjoy it. And thank you so much for watching the video. Just last thing I want to ask you, my dear friends. I have created season 1, I have created season 2, I'm creating season 3, and I'm putting a lot of efforts, my dear friends. Lot of efforts. Trust me, I'm putting my heart and soul into building the content of it. Please, if I request you one thing, please share a word about us, about me, about Namaste Dev on social media. That means a lot to me. Share your progress, share your notes, share your journey on social media. Share a word about Namaste Dev, Namaste React, Namaste Node.js, Namaste Frontend System 9, our courses to your friends and family, and help me reach a lot of developers. I don't have a marketing team as per se. We hardly do any marketing. Everything is organic. People like you refer it to your siblings, refer it to your friends, right? So that's how we grow. And I would love to really grow, and I would love to have more students in my batch, and lot more students who study with me and become great developers, right? So thank you for your support, whatever you have done, and keep supporting me. And that's all in this video, my dear friends. That's all. Thank you so much. Bye bye. See you in the next episode, and wish you the best for your career ahead. Bye bye.